Some discoveries change the world, but at a deadly cost. What would you sacrifice for knowledge? Would you risk your life for science? The woman who glowed in the dark. Marie Curie was no ordinary scientist. She was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, and the only person in history to win in two different sciences. But her passion for discovery would become her downfall. In her lab, she handled glowing, mysterious substances, radium and polonium. At the time, no one understood the danger of radiation. She carried samples in her pockets, fascinated by their eerie glow. She even kept them beside her bed, unaware of the silent death they carried. Over the years, her body weakened, her hands trembled, her vision blurred. The radiation she had studied with such devotion was poisoning her from the inside. In 1934, she succumbed to radiation-induced anemia. Even today, her notebooks remain dangerously radioactive, locked away in lead-lined boxes. Marie Curie gave the world a new understanding of the atom, but she paid for it with her life. The forgotten pioneer, DNA, the blueprint of life, the discovery that shaped modern genetics. But behind this breakthrough was a woman whose name history nearly erased, Rosalind Franklin. She spent years using X-ray crystallography to uncover the structure of DNA. And then, she captured it, the first clear image of DNA's double helix, a discovery that should have made history. But without her permission, her work was taken. James Watson and Francis Crick used her research to complete their model and won the Nobel Prize. Franklin? She was never credited. Meanwhile, the very X-rays she used in her research were slowly killing her. At just 37 years old, she died of ovarian cancer, likely caused by prolonged radiation exposure. She never knew that decades later, the world would finally recognize her contribution. The chemist who poisoned himself. Scheele was a brilliant chemist, a man who discovered elements and compounds long before others. Oxygen, chlorine, arsenic, but he had one fatal flaw. He tested chemicals by tasting them. In the 18th century, there were no modern safety standards. Scheele worked alone, surrounded by toxic substances. He was the first to isolate hydrogen cyanide, a deadly poison. He discovered prussic acid and arsenic-based compounds, all by direct contact. At first, the symptoms were mild: fatigue, dizziness, then organ failure. His body, exposed to years of accumulated toxins, shut down. By the time he died at 43, his name was already fading from history. His discoveries, however, lived on. The price of knowledge science is a path of discovery, but also of danger. Nikola Tesla endured extreme radiation exposure in his experiments. Alexander Bogdanov, an early pioneer of blood transfusions, tested his theories on himself, until one transfusion proved fatal. And then there was Louis Slotin. One mistake in a nuclear experiment, one slip of a screwdriver, and a flash of blue light sealed his fate. He knew in that moment that he had just days to live. 9 days later, he was gone. These scientists didn't just risk their lives, they sacrificed them for us. Their legacy lives on, but their deaths were not in vain. Marie Curie's work led to medical breakthroughs that saved millions. Rosalind Franklin's research shaped modern genetics. Scheele's discoveries built the foundation of modern chemistry. Science is not just about knowledge. It is about courage, the willingness to step into the unknown, knowing you may never return. They were not just scientists, they were heroes.